Hello everyone. So your today experiment, your today class is going to be about chromatography. Chromatography is separation method. In chromatography methods, usually you separate several compounds based on difference in equilibrium between a stationary phase and a mobile phase. So for example, when you're going to separate compound A from B in a chromatography method, in a chromatography procedure, you have a stationary phase and a mobile phase. So when for example, B compound is held by using stationary phase because of, for example, polarity, uh, the A compound A will move by using mobile phase. So holding the B on the stationary phase and moving of the A by using mobile phase will cause separation of compound B from A. So the chromatographic experiment, which you're going to do today, is thin layer chromatography. Thin layer chromatography is a type of chromatography. So usually for thin layer chromatography, you use TLC, which is silica gel or aluminum oxide. In your experiment, usually you use silica gel TLC. And so the moving phase is usually an organic solvent or a mixture of some organic solvents. So polar solvents tend to cause a rapid movement of substances. So here is an example of a TLC system. Usually we use a beaker and cover it by using watch glass. This is an example of TLC plate. So after doing the test, you will have something like this. For example, here we try to separate ortho, meta, para, nitroaniline by using TLC system. So we have ortho, meta, para as known compounds here, and we spot our unknown mixture here. So after separation in our unknown mixture, we had three spots. You can see 1, 2, 3. Based on the position of the spots, you can recognize them. You can determine them. So, for example, this spot is related to para. This one is related to meta, and this one is related to ortho. So, if your spots are colorless, you can use UV lamps, UV light to visualize your spots like this, and then you can mark them by using a pencil. So the uh, process is like that you need to prepare a TLC plate, spot the plate, and put it in a beaker, cover it by using watch glass, and let the solvent to go up, but you should not let the solvent to pass the TLC plate completely. And after finishing, you need to let the TLC plate to be dried in room temperature. So after drying, you need to calculate the retention factor. So mm, before starting doing the test, you need to draw a line 1 centimeter upper than the bottom edge of the TLC plate. I mean the line number 1. And after doing the test, you need to draw a line at the level which the solvents moved. I mean the line number 4. So your spots will be in the place such as 2 and 3. This is just an example. It's not the real uh, TLC plate after the experiment. It's an example. When you have something like this, if we call the distance between line 1 and 4 D14, and the distance between 1 and 2, 1 is your initial line, and 2 is the place of your spot, one of your spots. So if we call the distance between 1 and 2 D12, so the retention factor of to the first compound is D12 over D14. And for compound second compound, I mean the line 3, if we call the distance between 1 to 3 D13, so the retention factor for this red compound is D13 over D14. So for doing the test, you need some spotting, capillary spotting, which usually we as TA will prepare them for you. You don't need to do it because you need to work with flame and it's not safe for you. So for mobile phase, I mean the organic phase or the mixture of organic phase or organic solvents. So you need to know that more polar solvents generally lead to faster elution. So you need to know that the less polar compounds such as alkanes will be eluted by using less polar solvents such as hexane, and some more polar compounds such as alcohols will be eluted by using some more polar solvents such as ethanol. So for your test, for your experiment, you're gonna separate components of analgesic tablets. So usually we have several compounds such as ibuprofen, aspirin, acetaminophen, caffeine, but usually we give you a mixture of 3 of them, usually ibuprofen, aspirin, acetaminophen. So you need to know that ibuprofen is the less polar compound in the mixture, and the acetaminophen and caffeine is the most polar. So in a TLC plate with the stationary phase is silica because of SiO on the silica compound, so a polar compounds will be holded, however the less polar will move faster. So yeah, less polar, as I've mentioned, less polar compounds on a TLC plate will move faster. But the polar compound, because of the OH or NiH groups, which will causing some hydrogen bonding with the silica, will move slower. So for the process, as I've mentioned before doing the test, you need to draw a line by using pencil 1 centimeter from the bottom of the TLC, and you need to put 4 spots by using pencil. I'm emphasizing again that you need to use pencil and do the drawing line and the spotting slightly without breaking the stationary phase, the silica phase on the TLC. So you need to put 4 spots, mark 4 spots by using pencil. So after that, by using that capillary spotter which the TA will give you, you need to put a small drop of your 3 known compound and your unknown compound on the TLC plate. So usually we prepare 3 different mixture of organic solvents. Your TA will do it. You don't need to do it. You just need to use them from the hood. But you should know that the polar solvent, the mixture which is more polar, will move your polar compound faster, and the mixture which is less polar will elute your less polar compound faster. So you need to put your TLC plate in the beaker. You need to take care that the solvent should not touch the spots, because if it touches the spot, so the solvent will solve the compounds, and so you have nothing for doing the TLC chromatography and separation on the TLC. So it should not touch the spots. It's not the level of the solvent must be lower than the line which you draw on the TLC and the level of the spots which you put on the TLC plate. So after putting it, you need to cover it by using a watch glass. So after finishing, you need to let the plate to be dried in room temperature. You should not heat it. And then you need to uh, test it under UV lamp, circle spots with pencil, and calculate retention factor. And based on retention factor, you can identify your unknown, the mixture of your unknown solution. So as I mentioned, you usually have three different compounds in your unknown, and based on retention factor, you can identify each of them. So about the safety, you need to work in the hood, avoid inhalation, and wear safety gloves and goggles. So that's for your today class. Good luck, guys.